Welcome to another 5-Minute Leader. Today I want to talk a little bit about apprenticeships. What happened to apprenticeships? Now, if you look throughout history, and I'm talking about way back in the day, you want to look at ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient Rome. We used to have apprenticeships in pretty much all aspects of our lives, going back hundreds, thousands of years, whether it was for metalworking, whether it was for carpentry, whether it was for weaving, whether it was for being a merchant. We used to have apprenticeships all the time. And the way that an apprenticeship basically worked is somebody new who didn't have any skills in a particular area apprenticed to work with somebody who did have skills in a particular area. And you work there, you learn the skills, and eventually you were able to do the things that that skilled person was able to do. Oftentimes these apprenticeships were not paid, sometimes they were, but by and large, these apprenticeships have disappeared. And it's really interesting for me why this happened, because I see tremendous value when we think about apprenticeships, especially in today's workforce. Now, there have been a couple of companies that I talked to who state that they have apprenticeships in certain areas that are technical. So maybe there are some manufacturing companies, for example, that might still have apprenticeship programs. Maybe these programs exist if you're working on an IT team, you're learning how to code or develop something. So it's not like they're totally gone, but they're nowhere near where they used to be. But the really interesting thing here is that we don't have apprenticeships when it comes to leadership. Why do we assume that apprenticeships are only relevant when you are working with your hands? When you're coding something, when you're building something, when you're designing something? One of the critical aspects where apprenticeship is missing is when we think about leadership. Because the same way that you need to watch somebody when they're working with their hands and they're putting something together and they're manufacturing or they're metalworking or they're pipe fitting or doing electrical work, the same way that you need to see how they're doing that and understand how they're doing that, the same thing is applicable to leadership. We need more apprenticeships in leadership where you can work with a seasoned and experienced leader, see how they handle conflict, see how they make decisions, see how they're able to command a room, delegate, manage their time, think about the future, think about strategy, think about tactics, think about planning. That too is very, very relevant when we think about leadership and apprenticeship. And very few, if any, companies around the world even have something like this in place. I mean, sure, we have leadership training and development programs where you take a course, you watch some videos, you take an assessment, you do stuff like that. But how many organizations actually have a program where they say, hey, Jacob, you want to be a leader inside the company? Perfect. For the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to be working over there with Jamie. She's a seasoned leader. She's the SVP of marketing. And you're going to be spending a lot of time with her to see how she does what she does. You're going to learn about how she thinks about marketing, how she does all these different types of things. And for me to be able to absorb that from a seasoned executive at the company is going to be far more valuable than any video that you can show me, than any course that I take, than any assessment that you make me go through any PowerPoint that you want to email me. So bring back apprenticeships, especially when we think about leadership, into your organization. This doesn't need to be a very complicated thing to do. You can structure this in a number of different ways. Maybe you meet weekly, maybe you meet for an hour here, 30 minutes there, whatever it is. Put these apprenticeship programs in place. It's no wonder that so many organizations around the world say we don't have a leadership bench, meaning that when our current leaders retire or leave the organization, we don't have enough leaders who are able to step up to replace them. Well, if you want to solve that problem, create leadership apprenticeship programs to develop and build that leadership bench. If it worked for the Egyptians, if it worked for the Romans, if it worked for the Greeks, and if it worked for pretty much every single other civilization on planet Earth, then I can promise you it'll work for your company, especially when you think about leadership. So put something like this into practice. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I'll see you soon.